Technically, this isn't the first all-electric Mercedes-Benz. There was the A-Class E-Cell back in 2011 and then also the SLS AMG electric drive a couple of years after that. However, this is the first mainstream electric model in the brand's product lineup and the first car launched as part of Mercedes' new EQ sub-brand. This is the car that Mercedes is hoping will take it into the electric future. Welcome back to sgCarMart Reviews. Today, we're going to review the brand new Mercedes-Benz EQC. So, what is this? Well, underneath this is actually a GLC. This car was developed based on the GLC architecture, but Mercedes has binned the petrol bits, put in 2 electric motors, an 80 kWh battery pack, and of course, wrapped it in a brand new skin. The Mercedes-Benz EQC Electric is priced from $299,888 to $317,888. The electric drivetrain produces 402 brake horsepower and 760 Nm of torque. Single-speed transmission brings the car from 0 to 100 km/h in 5.1 seconds. For more details on the Mercedes-Benz EQC Electric or any other car, head on to sgCarMart.com to help you make the smart choice on your next car. This is what Mercedes is calling its electro look. So you get a vastly different looking front grille. You have this optical fiber light band that creates a horizontal light band between the 2 daytime running lights. And overall, you get a look that's actually very different from what you normally expect from a Mercedes SUV. Typically, those tend to be quite boxy, quite muscular. But here, you get something that's a lot more fluid in shape. There is a very good reason for this: aerodynamics. You see, with these curved surfaces and an elongated body shape, this actually helps the car to cut through air better. And less drag means more range, which is really important for an electric car. At the rear of the car is more of the same story. You get a nice, smooth, rounded rear end. You don't have any tailpipe, so everything is just nice, clean surfaces. If we go check out the boot, with the EQC, you get a 500-litre boot, which is fairly sizable, I would say. You can easily fit a big luggage, passes the anti-trolley length test, but it's not particularly impressive. Your standard GLC, you have a 550-litre boot, and some of its EV competitors like the I-Pace and e-tron, those you have more than 600 litres. So while it's decently sized, it's not particularly impressive. But if you do need extra space, you can actually quite easily just knock down the rear seats with these buttons and then have a much bigger loading area. Okay, so we're in the rear seats of the EQC, and first impressions, yeah, it's pretty good. It's quite spacious. I have plenty of leg room, plenty of headroom. And as far as equipment goes, we have aircon vents, no temperature control, but we have fan control, 2 USB-C ports, we have ISOFIX points on both the left and right seats, and this middle console, we have a storage area and 2 cup holders. So as far as this being a standard SUV, it's pretty par for course as far as comfort space is concerned. However, sitting here, you can tell that this car was built using an existing petrol car architecture. So for example, in the middle here, we still have a transmission tunnel hump, even though there's technically nothing underneath. So if we slide over to the middle seat, unfortunately, yes, you cannot put your legs right down the middle, you have to put it on either side, which is a little bit of an inconvenience, although I will say not sort of deal breaking because there's plenty of room on either side. And also, again, considering this is an electric SUV, I would say the rear cabin is okay but not great, because in cars like the I-Pace and the e-tron, where you do have a dedicated EV platform and a much more sort of cab-forward cabin design, you end up having a really, really spacious rear cabin. And here you sort of don't really get that. You get what is pretty much a standard SUV cabin. So I would say it's good, but there are some limitations on the fact that this was built on the GLC platform. The interior of the EQC actually is a really familiar looking space. On first looks, you can't really tell that this is like a special EV car. It looks like just like any other modern Mercedes, which is not in itself a bad thing, right? You have cool features, you have this nice steering wheel with your touch control buttons to control this MBUX system running on this dual screen setup. You have electric seat controls here on the door. You have all the same buttons and controls you find on any normal Mercedes, even the same touchpad here with more or less the same controls. So I think on first looks, it's impressive, it's impressive and classy in a way any Mercedes cabin is. A couple of distinguishing features about this EQC. We have these rose gold louvers on the aircon. And if we look into the menu, we actually have this specific EQ menu. So here you can see these EV specific functions like your charging options, your consumption, your energy flow, things like that. And also, we can actually very quickly search for your nearest charging station with the inbuilt navigation. According to it, our nearest charging station is the International Building Yotel, which is 1.9 km away. So yeah, this is very convenient for if you need to quickly look for a nearby charging station. And while this is undeniably a premium and classy cabin, I must say I'm a little bit unexcited by it. As an EV that's supposed to represent the future, I was hoping for something a little bit more exciting, a little bit more pizzazz. If you've seen pictures of the EQS, the upcoming all-electric saloon that's slated to come, I think, early next year to Singapore, that car really has that wow factor, with its massive M-Bux hyper screen and this really almost spaceship-looking like interior. This car lacks a bit of that wow factor for me. However, one good thing, I've just turned the car on. You couldn't tell. I can't tell because there's no indication other than this little green ready symbol that comes on. Let's take this out for a drive. Let's talk about some of the good things about the EQC. First thing, it's really quiet. So I'm on the highway now, 80 km per hour, light throttle, and listen to that. Can't really hear anything, which is fantastic. You don't hear the whine of the electric motors when you're driving lightly. Noise insulation in the cabin is really very good. These are special noise insulating glass. And I think overall the sense of refinement and quality and comfort is very high. I think that's really to do with how quiet it is. You feel very insulated from the world outside you, which is nice, which is something that I actually do really like about electric cars. As far as ride comfort, I think generally it's quite good over most driving situations. The car is quite a heavy car. This car is 2.4 tons, and actually I think that actually helps the overall ride because the car feels a little bit more planted to the tarmac, unlike the standard GLC, which tends to bob up and down quite a lot. This one, over the normal roads, the ride is very well controlled, and I think that's pretty good. I actually think it rides better than your standard GLC. And of course, this is an EV, so it's ridiculously quick. This car has like 402 brake horsepower and 760 Newton meters of torque, which is pretty ridiculous. So if I'm just going to go out into the first lane, I'm not even on half throttle. I'm using 100% power because EV, instant torque. So pickup is never going to be a problem. This car is absolutely quick, easy to use, and the throttle response is very good. So I think overall the sense of comfort, of ease of use and refinement is very identifiably Mercedes, which is a great thing. As far as range goes, I've been driving this car for 3 days and I'm doing 25.2 kilowatt hour per 100 km. So that roughly gets me to around 350 kilometers of range, which is okay. Not particularly fantastic, but not terrible either. So compared to its key competitors, which is like the Jaguar I-Pace and the Audi e-tron, this EQC kind of splits the difference between the two. So I think generally usable for most people if you're not going crazy distances and you can regularly charge the car. I think the range is pretty solid all around, but not fantastic. Some negatives, I think mostly comes down to the car's weight. So especially at low speeds, now I'm just taking a slow corner. Yeah, you can feel that this is still a fundamentally 2.5 ton car. The steering is not very light, and when you're going around like multi-story car parks and maneuvering at slow speeds, yeah, you can feel that the car is really quite heavy. And you know, that's just something you have to accept with a car like that. The second thing is, while I think the ride quality is generally quite good, I will admit that there are certain occasions where you can tell that this is fundamentally a GLC that has been adapted to be an EV. So the suspension hasn't been specifically designed to deal with this much weight all the time. So on poorer roads like we are now, you know, on some bigger bumps and humps, you can feel the car sort of bobbing up and down, and it's quite stuck because it's so heavy, right? And especially I think at the rear axle, you can feel an amount of flex that I would rather it not have. So the Mercedes-Benz EQC, will buy, won't buy, or go try? My verdict is a go try, and I think it really depends on what you're looking for, right? If you're already in the market for a car like this, a luxury electric SUV, you really have three options. You have this car, the EQC, you have the Audi e-tron, and you have the Jaguar I-Pace. This car now is selling for just under $300,000. And that actually makes it quite a bit cheaper than the other two. And I think because of that, I think it's worth your consideration. You're still getting a complete Mercedes experience in that sense. You know, it's luxurious, it's comfortable, it's refined, and it looks and feels just like a Mercedes, a modern Mercedes, which is great, right? You know, you're buying into this experience. And so yeah, I think if you're already shopping or thinking about getting an EV right now, then this is definitely worth your attention. However, if you want something a little bit more futuristic, something a little bit more has that sense of something special, then you might be better off waiting a little bit. Don't get me wrong, this EQC is a perfectly capable EV, you know, it's good range, very usable drivetrain, and I think it's an accomplished car for what it is. But I will admit that it doesn't really excite me. You know, when I think about owning an EV or driving an EV, I want something a little bit more special, something with a bit more sparkle. And I think this car, there's a little bit too much of the taste of a GLC for my liking in that sense. So there you have it, our review of the new Mercedes-Benz EQC. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section below. Do also like and subscribe, and of course hit the notification bell to see more of our videos. And go follow us on TikTok. We're doing crazy car stuff there, so I'm told. Till the next time, bye!